We're going to start our work now with decimal numbers, and I've written over here on the board a decimal number and the place values of the digits in the decimal number. This column is the hundreds column, tens column, ones column, just like before. Now I have the decimal point, and then to the right of the decimal point I have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, 100,000ths, millions. So if I was to write this number right here in expanded form, it would be 100 plus 20 plus 3, and then plus 4 tenths, plus 5 hundredths, plus 6 thousandths, plus 7 over 10,000, plus 8 over 100,000, and then plus 9 over a million, but I ran out of room here to write the 9 over a million, so I didn't put it down. Let's go to the board now and work with some decimal numbers. Name each number, and I have 0.3. Decimal point is right here. This 3 is in the tenths column, so this is 3 tenths. That's 3 tenths. The next number, I have 2.04, so this is 2 and 4 hundredths. So I'm going to say 2 and 4 hundredths. So when I see that decimal point, the word that I say is and. Over here I have a decimal point, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So this number right here is going to be 15 10,000ths. So 15 10,000ths. So that's the way we name decimal numbers. When we see that decimal point, when we're writing the number in words or just saying the number, we say the word and. Here's some other examples. Write as a mixed number. So this decimal number right here as a mixed number is 405 and 36 100ths. So I can change a decimal number into a mixed number this way, just by knowing that this 36 hundredths stands for the fraction 36 over 100. And then with my mixed number notation, I just leave out the plus sign. This is 1 and 234 tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So this is going to be, as a mixed number, 1 and 234 thousandths. So you can see there's as many zeros in the denominator here as there are places to the right of the decimal point. Okay, let's look at the next numbers that I have over here. I want to take a number written in words and write it in symbols. And here I have 55 hundredths. So 55 hundredths would be 0 tenths hundredths. So 55 hundredths, tenths hundredths. The next one I have 100 and 2 hundredths. So I have 100. My decimal point is what I use for the word and 2 hundredths. So tenths hundredths. So there is 100 and 2 hundredths. What we want to do next is look at the process of rounding some decimal numbers to given place values. So let's round to the nearest whole number, tenth, and hundredth. And here I've written a number. I got 3 numbers here. So 47.5479. I want to round that to the nearest whole number. So here's my whole number column right here, 47. I go to the digit that's right next to that on the right. It's a 5. Since it's 5 or larger, I'm going to add 1 to this digit and make this 48. And then I would replace all of these digits with zeros except they're to the right of the decimal point, so I simply drop them. Any digits that you would replace with 0 that are to the right of the decimal point, we simply drop them. To the nearest tenth, okay, here's the tenths column. I go to the column just to the right of that. I find a number less than 5, so I'll simply drop those digits and leave this digit the same, 47.5. To the nearest hundredth, I go to the hundredths column. That's this column right here where the 4 is. I go to the column just to its right. I find a 7. That's larger than 5, so I'm going to add 1 to this digit and then drop the rest of them. So 47.55. So here's the number 47.5479 rounded to the nearest whole number, tenth, and hundredth. So notice that there's any digits to the right of the decimal point that you normally would change to zeros when you round. What we do is simply drop them. How about 0.1560? To the nearest whole number, here's my whole number place. Just to its right is a 1. That number is less than 5, so I'm not going to add anything to this digit. It simply rounds to 0. To the nearest tenth, that's this column. Just to its right is a 5, so I add 1 to the tenths column, 0.2, and I drop all the digits to the right of that. Nearest hundredth, I have a 5. To the column just next to that is a 6, which is larger than 5, so I add 1 to this digit, and then I drop all the digits to its right. So 0.16. So this number rounds to the nearest whole number as 0, tenth as 0.2, and hundredth as 0.16. 99.9999 to the nearest whole number, that's this digit. I move to its right, I find a 9, which is larger than 5. So I add 1 to this digit, that will give me 100. And then I drop all the digits to the right of the decimal point. To the nearest tenth, that's this column. To its right is a 9 again, so I add 1 to this column. I get 100.0. So when the digit I round to is a 0, I want to keep that 0, but then I drop all the zeros to the right of that. To the nearest hundredth, that's this column. To its right is a 9, so I add 1 to the hundredths column, and so I get 100.00. So 99.9999 rounded to the nearest whole number is 100, to the nearest tenth is 100.0, and to the nearest hundredth is 100.00. And that's a look at naming decimal numbers, rounding decimal numbers, writing them in words, and also writing them in symbols.